It's not okay. It's fantasy. There's nothing real about porn.
But what's wrong with fantasy, Larry?
So lots of couples use pornography in their relationships as an enhancement or to try and stimulate their sex life. But it comes with a price. So what's the cost that couples are paying for using pornography, and what can we do to educate them about, other alternatives?
Bottom line on pornography, let's be honest, it's been around, since caveman. Question is, anything relative to sexuality, we know people are going to learn. The question is from whom and how. Mm-hmm. And if this is their only source of information, what they're doing is they're getting someone else's fantasy. Now, if you're someone who's never had any experience with another person, and that's the only thing you're listening to, you're getting a one-note samba. And then let's differentiate this from erotica versus porn. Okay? Because I think there's also two very different areas here. Input.
I think it probably can play a good role in the couple's relationship. Say, for instance, if you are feeling a little bored with the same, position of sex, that it can enhance the relationship from that particular perspective. But it should not be the primary source.
I'm sorry, I have an issue with that.
Let's go back to Lou's point, though, about differentiating between pornography and erotica. I'm thinking about the difference between hot sex, which is, dopamine to the brain, and the more you get, the more you need, and, the start of sexual addiction, especially internet porn, because novelty is so abundant.
Is that spike?
And it's so abundant on the internet. You can have 50 windows open watching 50 different sex acts. It's a lot of novelty which stimulates that dopamine production in the brain. So I call that hot sex. And I think what deepens and builds intimacy between couples is warm sex. That's the oxytocin, the bonding. And for that, couples need to turn toward one another, not be side by side looking at something outside of themselves.
So Larry, you had a visceral reaction to the idea that porn can be okay. Let's talk about that.
It's not okay. It's fantasy. There's nothing real about porn.
But what's wrong with fantasy, Larry?
All right, you said it yourself when you were describing warm sex, right? There is that engagement. I mean, let's respect it for what it is. For man and woman to have that sacred union, that is incredibly special. It is one of the most special gifts that we can give to each other. Absolutely it is. And if we're patterning that off of what we see on the internet, whether it's erotic sex or it's porn, we're looking at some fantastical impression that's being, shown to us, and we think that's what sex is. It's not. It is not. And it is an unbelievable disservice to you, to me, to any of us to think we can go into that kind of engagement and pattern after what we see there. So, it might be entertaining. Let's look at it what it is. It's entertainment, but it's being looked at and studied as if it was edutainment or even education. It is not.
But I still
we have a very special conversation.
It can be used as, say, an educational tool. From the standpoint that the couple are both in agreement that they want to look and explore, say, different positions.
Buy the book Kama Sutra.
But
how
many individuals actually sit down and read a book in today's environment?
Well, then get the Kama Sutra video.
They can use it as a tool, a sort of how-to, let's try this, from that particular perspective. Not that you're going to spend, assume that you're going to get everything out of it that you see, on the video, but it can help you to explore
So there are
avenues that you may not have explored before.
Now here's the other thing. Again, going back to who do you listen to? When we are being intimate and sexual with a partner, it is your body saying what words cannot. So our sexuality and how we relate and talk, it is a learned language. And we don't get taught it. We don't get taught how to touch. We don't get taught how to kiss. We basically have everything. We have an N of one that is how we learn about this. And there's a problem coming forward particularly for young men who've been raised within the environment of porn is their access point for learning. They are not connecting to partners. They are not having an emotional attachment, and things are not turning them on. Now, that's a problem.
Well, I think that the question that all of this raises is that when you rely too much on it, like when you're overly focused on pornography, it stunts your ability to be creative yourself, right? And that's the big risk and the cost. So for couples, there are educational tools, and pornography can be used as a source, or erotica can be used as a source to teach people things. But if you really want to have a great sex life, it starts in your bedroom, with your relationship, with your partner. And you can't replace that with anything else. The brain is the biggest sex organ.
Between your ears.
That's
The
right.
6 inches between your ears.
That's right.
That's the 6 inches you need.